All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to explore 5 subjects that are so incredible, they seriously blur the lines between what's science fact and what's science fiction. You're not going to want to miss this.
So let me ask you a couple of questions. What if we could store every single book ever written in a tiny drop of water? Or what if the concrete in our bridges and buildings could literally heal itself? Sounds like something out of a movie, right? Well, the future might be a lot closer than you think. First up, let's talk about what could be nature's ultimate hard drive. This is the incredible, almost unbelievable promise of DNA storage. We're talking about using the very building blocks of life itself to hold our entire digital world. Let's start with a truly mind-boggling number, 700 terabytes. According to Harvard researchers, that's how much data you could theoretically pack into a single gram of DNA. To put that in perspective for you, that's like taking 150,000 hours of HD movies and fitting them all into something smaller than your fingernail. Just wow. So how in the world does this work? Well, you know computers use binary code, all those ones and zeros. DNA has its own code, right? The 4 chemical bases, A, C, G, and T. DNA data storage is basically the process of translating those ones and zeros into the language of DNA. It's like we're teaching the code of life to speak digital.
And believe me, this isn't just theory anymore. The progress has been absolutely remarkable. I mean, it started way back in 1988 with just a tiny image encoded into E. coli. Fast forward to 2012, and a Harvard team stored a whole book. But then, just 5 years later, in 2017, the DNA fountain method hit a storage density of 215 petabytes per gram. And a petabyte? That's 1,000,000 gigabytes. The acceleration here is just staggering.
You know, the information density of DNA is so profound, it's prompted some really powerful reactions. The late philosopher Antony Flew, for example, argued that its complexity just had to point towards an intelligent origin. Now, wherever you stand on that, his reaction really highlights just how mind-bogglingly efficient this natural system is, a system we're only now learning to partner with in these incredible ways. And this idea of partnering with biology, it goes way beyond just storing data. What if we could apply it to our physical world? That's the idea behind our next topic, self-healing concrete, where biology literally meets construction. So how does concrete heal itself? It's a fantastic process, really. First, a crack forms. Then water seeps in, which is normally the enemy, right? But in this bioconcrete, that water actually wakes up dormant bacteria spores that were mixed right in. These bacteria, now awake, get to work. They start to metabolize and produce limestone, which then grows and naturally seals the crack from the inside out. It's not a patch, it's actual regeneration. And the results? They're a total game changer. Traditional concrete cracks and needs constant, costly repairs. This new stuff actively maintains itself. By filling its own cracks, it stops long-term water damage before it can even start. This means we can build things that last longer, use way less steel reinforcement, and, this is the big one, dramatically lower the carbon footprint of the entire construction industry. Okay, so from biology that we've engineered, let's now turn to one of nature's own most brilliant and, let's be honest, bizarre creations. It's time to talk about the octopus, an animal that seems so alien, it's hard to believe it's from Earth.
I mean, its biology is just, it's on another level. It has 3 hearts. Its blood is blue because it's copper-based, not iron-based like ours. With no skeleton, it can squeeze its whole body through a tiny 1-inch gap. But the wildest part? It has to be its mind. 2/3 of its neurons are in its arms, which means each arm can literally think and act on its own. It's not just smart, it's a completely decentralized, almost alien form of intelligence.
And even the way it breathes is unconventional. An octopus doesn't just use its gills. As you can see here, even when it's just chilling out, a full 41% of its oxygen is absorbed directly through its skin. It's just another one of these remarkable adaptations that sets this creature apart from almost everything else on the planet. So, from the wonders of nature, we're going to pivot to 2 incredible, almost mythological marks that humanity has left on nature. These are monuments to our own ambition, one digging deep into the earth and the other burning bright against the sky. On one hand, you've got the Kola Superdeep borehole in Russia, a very deliberate scientific mission to drill as deep as possible. And on the other, the Darvaza gas crater in Turkmenistan, better known as the Door to Hell, a fiery pit from a collapsed gas rig that's been on fire nonstop since 1971. One was a cold, calculated quest for knowledge, the other a blazing accident that somehow became a tourist attraction. So let's focus on that borehole for a second. The final depth it reached was an astonishing 12,262 meters. For nearly 30 years, it was the deepest artificial point on the entire planet. But what does a number that big even mean?
Well, to really wrap your head around that scale, that is deeper than Mount Everest is tall. Imagine taking the world's highest mountain, flipping it upside down, and you would still need more room to fit this hole. The site's abandoned now, welded shut, but it is still the deepest humans have ever reached into the Earth's crust.
So, let's recap. We've seen biology used as a hard drive, concrete that heals itself, and alien intelligence swimming in our oceans, and humanity's deepest scar on the face of the planet. What does all of this mean?
Well, from programming life's most fundamental code to store our digital memories, to digging into the Earth's ancient crust just to see what's there, the line between what is natural and what is artificial is clearly disappearing. It's getting blurrier every day. Which leaves us with a pretty big question. What boundary will we cross next?